What's the clink, clink, clink? Are you making something as we're talking?
No, I was
Are
just.
you?
I thought maybe a percussive sound would be useful.
Oh, I thought maybe you were
Keep me
making a
from
drink or
nodding
something.
off.
You're listening to Time to Lean, and here's a song. Episode 51. Andy R is our special guest. Andy has given up a life of science to join a ragtag team of software developers. Anyway, here we go. Episode 51. Enjoy.
Oh, yeah. Well, we just kind of jumped in. Hi, everybody. This is a cold opening.
Frigid
It's
opening.
very cold. Frigid opening. We have a special guest today. Oh, and it's
Hi.
also episode 321. Hi. And it's also our 51st episode of
That's-
season 6.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I don't know. It's something.
How do we do it?
So, our special guest today is Andy R. Hi,
Oh,
Andy.
we only go by last initials. Hi, hi.
We pretend that people are anonymous, but they're kind of not.
We can use your full name if you don't mind.
No,
Some
no,
people are
that's-
like, you know.
I'd rather people didn't know who I was.
I understand. You know, some people are lawyers and
We need
work
a
for-
bio and a headshot, please.
So, I actually have a segment prepared for tonight. When you're ready,
Oh,
It's a
somebody
sort of-
get homework.
it's a sort of Mr. Science quiz show for the two of you. And I think it ties
I've
into
already
a topic.
failed.
It ties into a topic that you guys discuss a lot based on my 15-minute scan of random sampling.
The science of Taco John's.
And what actually
He
has
might
to
not-
do, it has to do with your beverages that you often consume. So
Excellent.
Okay.
that's the teaser. That can come later.
Okay.
All right.
I'm
Well, fine.
excited.
And Andy, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about yourself? Who am you?
Well, I think
Why are you?
like a lot of the guests on this show, from what I can tell, you dredge for people from your childhood.
Or is it that they wish to reconnect with people from their past whose company they've enjoyed? I choose the latter.
So I also hail from western South Dakota. Always been a bit of a geek. When I was young, that was not fashionable. But now, I mean, geeks rule the world. So,
Geeks
yay.
are sexy.
Yay for that, finally.
I haven't seen the science on this, but I will for now take his word. Because Andy was a scientist.
Well, it took a while.
Yeah. So in addition to being kind of a computery person, also I play the oboe. So if you want to geek out about double reeds at some point, love
You
to
make
talk.
your own.
Sure, I do. I got one right here in front of me, in fact. So, yeah.
Can a reed make a sound on its own? Can't it?
On
It can, can't it?
If the entire universe existed only of a reed and nothing else,
Would you hear it?
no, I don't
No.
think so, because you need air for sound to
And no
exist.
one else would be there to hear it.
Yeah. So I would say no, it can't make sound on its own.
Well, yes. So, yeah, we have a lot of expats, Rapid City expats, or South Dakota expats on the show. and,
Fugitives. Yeah.
maybe a couple fugitives. And then after, well, we could talk about whatever, but after that you came to Minnesota. Actually,
yeah.
no, before that you were in Colorado, right?
Yeah.
No?
I attended the University of Colorado. There's probably not many people who can say they've actually started and enrolled at the University of Colorado twice, but actually graduated 0 times.
Is one undergraduate? Is that the...
Yeah, yep. So I started
right.
as an
I
undergraduate
forgot.
there and then transferred and actually graduated from Augustana College, now Augustana University, because college,
they're-
Of course, we
They're
all
all-
do that, right?
They're all universities
Yep.
now.
in Sioux Falls. And then after I got a master's degree at the University of South Dakota, I went back to Colorado to pursue a PhD in molecular biology. And about 4 years into that, I realized I really wanted to spend my career writing software. So I left that and been a software developer ever since.
I think you were researching the paddlefish at some point, right?
Oh, yes. Yes.
So you know a lot about paddlefishes.
I knew the paddlefish was going to come up somewhere.
Well,
Oh, absolutely. It's one of my
They're
favorite
fascinating.
animals. It's a really neat organism. It's native to North America. It lives in the Missouri River, Mississippi River, Ohio River. And it's amazing because that species has existed almost unchanged for something like 200 million years.
Just like us.
No, not like Homo sapien. Homo sapien is
No,
a
I
very
meant
new...
it's like 700 years ago the universe was created, I thought. I read that somewhere
oh, right. Yes.
on the internet. Well, what makes it special? I mean, I know it has the weird snout or whatever with the
Yes.
sensors or...
Yep, so
Something,
if
right?
you were
It's
to
very
see
sensitive
one,
nose.
it looks like it has a giant nose. They actually call that rostrum. And it's maybe, I don't know, a third the length of the entire fish is this giant nose sticking out of its forehead. And it's surrounded with sensors that they believe help the fish detect predators or possibly prey that might be nearby swimming in the water. So if they're where it's dark or if the water's really murky,
Muddy. It's murky water.
they can detect what's around them using these kind of electrochemical sensors. Also, they're a fully cartilage-based skeleton. So there's no hard ossified bones in their body. They feed by filter feeding. So they open their mouth really wide while they're swimming. And they have what are called gill rakers, which are really fine combs across their gills that plankton that they swim, in the water will be caught. So that's what they eat. And
The
actually,
small whale.
their genus name is Polyodon, which stands for many teeth. And it's actually a mistake because those gill rakers are not technically teeth. But the first biologist who saw them saw all these little pointy things in their mouths and thought, oh, that's a lot of teeth. So,
No. What a
Yeah.
loser.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, we can't always be right.
No. Well, that's part of
That's part of science.
That's how science works. You start with an idea and do your best, and then those ideas are tested rigorously over and over as time goes on. And sometimes mistakes are corrected, and other times the ideas are confirmed.
Just like our current pandemic problem, where the science on the coronavirus has changed.
Evolved.
Yeah, exactly. And I think people who don't know any better look at that and say, "Well, why should I trust that? They've changed. It's not the same thing."
Right.
Yeah, they're
That-
lying.
that's a fallacy, really. I think that
Uh-huh.
that it's really unfortunate. Of course, I mean,
Well, yeah, I'm a big fan of science, even though I did ultimately leave that for my career. I have a lot of respect for how scientists work, and it's very competitive. I think one of the misunderstandings of science is people, when they see a change, for example, guidance might be one thing, and then it changes to something else, and they say, "See, scientists don't know." But actually, I see that as evidence that science is working, because they'll make the best judgment they can with information that's available at the time they have it. And as more data comes in, they will amend their ideas according to the evidence that they see. And they call it the novel coronavirus because it's so new. So there's a lot they don't know. Even now, 6 months later, there's still a lot they don't know. So we'll continue to see new discoveries and as they understand better how it works. It'd be a lot easier if it was something that had been around for hundreds of years.
and yeah, I think people don't realize how rapid, how fast the timeline has been on this particular bug. That with all the guidance and what we know about it and the development of the vaccine, which goes along with it, on how much slower this kind of stuff usually happens. It's not quite so prominent.
Yeah. Yep, totally.
Yeah.
you think people could figure it out, though? I mean, because none of us, all of us, I should say, as we go through life, almost everybody, you learn new things, and you change. You learn your perspective changes, and it's not like everything you did before was. It's not, that doesn't make you a false person, or everything you stand for is false. You just learned something. I don't know why does it have to be such. I mean, there must be some way to better translate science than I just did, but I mean, it's not. We're all going through life and learning new things, and it's not rocket science.
Yeah. Yeah, I think scientists have been lazy about taking time to explain what they know and why they know things, and to draw a comparison between things that are new, that are possibilities, versus things that are really well established. And the media does a terrible job of this.
Yeah.
In fact, I remember a journalist, and I'd have to Google to get you the specifics, but he basically did an experiment where he cooked up a study that somehow showed that chocolate was really good for you and had all these benefits. It might even have been a story that chocolate made you lose weight. And it was very thin evidence. It was cooked up in all the classic ways that science can be concocted. And the media picked it up, and it was reported widely on all the morning talk shows and in newspapers. And
people want to learn a quick fix thing, so right?
No one questioned it because it was so appealing. Like, wouldn't that be wonderful if chocolate would make you healthy?
It's the shiny object.
Yeah, but no one's going to pick up a story about, gravity pulls you towards the center of the earth because, well, that's boring.
Who wants that? Yeah, I think it also it has an unfortunate incompatibility with politics, in that changing one's mind or learning new things, and which leads to maybe changing your assumptions about things, is actually not rewarded in the political public life. And that so that people want something like, okay, I want certainty, just like it unfortunately bleeds over into things like religious faith and all that, where you have these assumptions and beliefs that are always the same,
immutable.
And it's also, again, back to the political thing, where it's a big slam if you say you changed your beliefs about something, you waffled or whatever.
Flip-flopped.
Yeah, exactly.
John Kerry, that was...
the flip-flopper in chief, or whatever they used to call him.
He didn't have a good counter for that, though, but...
Yeah, it's really, really unfortunate, and it gets back to the point that I think we probably all agree on, that we need probably more professional, educated people at the federal level and everything, leading things like this and guiding our elected officials.
I think the government should be guided by a pack of bonobos.
Than we do, and there's so much because right now it's inconvenient at times.
Yeah,
to tell you the truth.
Wouldn't it be nice if the scientific advisors to our leaders were not affiliated with political parties, if they weren't appointed or chosen? Because even in our current administration, it seems, will select scientists who support their agenda. And so
it's definitely gotten worse.
There's some credibility because it's an actual doctor or someone who has degrees, but they're maybe not representative of all the professionals in those fields.
So I really glad, Andy, to have you on. Finally, it's overdue. And a couple of things. A few nights ago, I had a dream that it sounds ominous.
A dream sequence. Andy's nose was 1/3 of his body.
Oh, that is disturbing.
Paddle Andy.
Paddle Andy.
Andy Fish.
And I, as usual, you remember this little fragment, but it stuck with me apparently, that I could see in my dream a Facebook page from the Time to Lean and Here's a Song page, and that Matthew P., one of our frequent listeners and occasional guests, left a comment that said, episode 50 needed a guest.
Okay.
And
you
I-
dreamt that?
yeah, I actually dreamt that.
Okay. All right.
No, he did not actually say that. I didn't
No.
get any. I haven't
We
heard
haven't
anything
released
from him
episode
about.
50 yet. I haven't even started editing that
No,
one.
no, that's the thing, and it's not out.
In the dream, Matthew P. was flying overhead, naked, with members of Duran Duran. I don't believe that dream analysis is a true science, but you must agree, that's pretty messed up.
Does it have a guest?
No.
Oh,
So
Maybe it needed a guest. Maybe you're right. We could edit one in.
well, we'll just out of context put Andy's comments into episode.
Hey,
50.
yeah, we'll use this one. We'll
you-
just splice them together.
do
No,
you
that
want
will
some
be different.
Some stray interjections that can be added. I'd be happy to rattle them off for you.
But
We
poor.
need the computer software to make this one.
But okay, that aside, another thing that occurred to me is that Andy was many, many years ago one of the first people. Actually, it was the very first podcast episode I ever made about old Star Trek. Andy and I made that episode
Yeah.
the very, very first time, and before Rob and Eric got involved and all that stuff. And
I remember that.
Pushed Andy out.
yeah, I don't know why. Andy, maybe I don't know. You decided it.
I think it's just he doesn't want to be on the same podcast with Eric and Rob. I mean, what?
Well,
As I
It's a
recall,
struggle.
there were a lot of technical challenges getting that going,
oh, that
yeah.
and
that series was really nerve-wracking.
yeah,
It's a miracle
also-
we really got through it.
You had a
Even though
really
it took 10 years or something.
you had a really aggressive schedule too, and at the time there was no way to watch episodes online, so like I had to find the DVDs or something, and so it was logistically hard for me to keep up to get the program watched on time and so forth.
Yeah, very very different times. I mean, this was, I want to say 2006 maybe, or it was a long time ago.
Yeah,
I didn't know Andy was involved with that. He did the first
We
one.
we made a one-off. I think it was, you might even call it a pilot.
Sure.
but did we do it on the pilot or was it a different?
No,
episode?
I oddly enough we picked
Oh.
one from the middle of season 2, I think, and that.
Yeah.
Oh,
With-
well.
It wasn't Spock's brain, was it?
No, it was This Side of Paradise, where Spock gets hit by the spores and goes nuts.
Oh, I knew it featured Spock.
It was a Spock episode, and it was a good one to discuss. But that was the first podcast
So-
episode I ever made.
Appropriately enough, I am drinking from a Star Trek, the original series, pub glass. It has a silk screen of Captain Kirk holding a communicator, and he's saying, "Set phasers on stun."
Excellent.
That's a good thing for a drink. Well, what are you
yeah,
drinking?
what- speaking of
what
that,
a segue.
let's do it.
Boy, he led us into that one.
Well, so this is actually Clarbrun limoncello with ice cubes from an ice cube tray. Not this lousy refrigerator machine ice maker garbage.
Oh, wow.
These are good quality ice cubes.
So, are you a ice maker skeptic? Is that what you're?
Well, John's ice maker has been featured on several episodes.
I think I'm just more
Yeah.
of a pragmatist. Ice makers, just in my experience, have been prone to breaking down and filling your freezer with lakes of ice. So
I know, and I get that. I really do. Maybe it's because I
convenient.
grew up with an ice maker, and I don't know. I just like having one.
and see, we did not have one growing up, so that might be the difference. You know,
I think
Different
your
side.
parents
Did
were
you-
very
did you-
practical about these kind of
Yeah.
things.
other side of the tracks.
My grandparents had
The
one of
other
those.
side of the other side of, at that time,
Wilson?
Fifth Street.
That's right.
My grandparents had those metal ones. Remember with the
Oh, the lever you would lift to break
yeah,
them?
and it was
Oh,
pretty
that's
cool.
cool.
Yeah.
Except
I
when
wish I could have
you
gotten
get rust
those.
in your ice.
No, I think they're aluminum.
Oh,
They
okay.
weren't. Yeah, these things never rusted anyway. Whatever. Titanium.
Maybe later I'll have a gin and tonic.
What are you drinking, John?
So today I have some Rittenhouse rye. Rittenhouse rye. It's a one of those. So long time ago, we've mentioned this before, but before rye got trendy again, there were basically 3 brands that you could get in the old man drunk section of the liquor store.
Old Voldemort.
There was Old Voldemort, a.k.a. Old Overholt. There was Jim Beam, which has always had a rye variant. And then Rittenhouse was the other brand that was pretty easily obtainable. And I hadn't had it in many, many years and decided to try it again. And this is their bottled in bond version. So it's 4 years old, 100 proof. And it's quite good. I like it. It's a very, it's a very non-spicy, not very, it doesn't have that real kick that a lot of craft ryes have now. So like some of the local ones that are out and
Sure.
they have a lot more spice forward. They have kind of a kick, and this one is very chill, very fruity.
And
It's
what kind of
actually
glass
very
is
nice.
this in?
What's that?
What kind of glass do you have this in?
Just a rocks glass with a really big ice cube.
A round one, or square.
I've tried it neat, and right now I've got it on ice.
Okay.
And it
You
also
try it neat first.
Yeah, if you want to be a real snob, you have to drink it neat.
How's the nose?
It's not, it almost noses like a bourbon. It's made by
It sounds more like a bourbon than
Heaven
rye.
Hill, maker of mellow corn.
Oh wow.
Now maybe you've covered this on this podcast before, so I apologize. But can you speak to what happens with like whiskey or rye when you add a little bit of water? It's more than just diluting it, don't you think?
It opens it up.
I don't know the
say.
chemical change it makes in the. It's really
change it.
interesting though that if you add water, and ice is kind of different because the temperature change basically kind of dulls everything. So that's kind of a separate thing. But just adding small amounts of water to whiskey obviously brings the alcohol by volume number down. But it seems to make changes to the whiskey, and some I think some whiskeys react better to it than others, and then it kind of depends on what proof you start with. So if you have a really kind of anemic 40% ABV whiskey, if you add up very much water to it, the flavor kind of disappears, or a lot of the characteristics get really dull, and because it just kind of breaks down. But if you take a high proof or a cask strength whiskey, the great thing about cask strength whiskey is, of course, that you have more control over the dilution of it. And so you can add a bunch of water, or you can add just bit by bit, and you get different levels of flavor. And sometimes the flavor profile subtly changes when you add water to it.
Interesting.
There's a lot of range about that, and get really whiskey nerd kind of stuff. But that's part of the fun. I think just seeing how it changes, and the more I find this especially true with heavily peated Scotch. If you add water to it, it's the most interesting to see the changes, and it can change the smell as well as the flavor.
Yeah,
And it doesn't take much.
No, I mean it's there's a lot of
Ralphie
difference of
puts
opinion.
a tablespoon in, but
Some people use little eyedroppers to you just add a few drops at a time, and then YouTuber Ralphie, he'll put an entire teaspoon in, which a lot of people think is crazy.
wow, that's very small amounts.
Yeah, a lot of people just put
but
very
it changes
tiny
quite
amounts.
a bit, though. It does change quite a bit. I mean, it's subtle, I guess, but I don't know. I wonder what the
Definitely
chemical
is.
reason is.
Yeah.
We need a scientist.
Well, I'm sorry, that's not something I know anything about.
There's a lot of... so, like, Phil, I think the other day I sent you a link to an article about that some scientists had actually found a way of detecting the age of whiskey without opening the bottle.
I don't quite understand that. I didn't read the whole article yet, but do you just sniff around the top, or
no, they don't open it. Yeah, they use some
scanner,
device to measure light or densities or something, because it's really a well-known problem in the high-end whiskey industry that there's a lot of counterfeit, of forgeries of really old whiskey that gets sold for obscene prices to rich people. So what will happen is that somebody will get a bottle that's from say a 50 or 100-year-old whiskey and refill it with something modern or cheap and reseal it and sell it as an original item.
Of course.
And of course, I think once they open the bottle, an expert can figure it out, but a lot of collectors will not ever open it, and so sometimes they might never know.
I think it's okay. I think that's a good market.
Well, it is.
Into.
Although
maybe we could have a time to lean whiskey and say it's from the 1900s, and the bottle is $3,000 million.
Yeah, and it's like anything else with art forgeries or other things like that. It's that perceived value. If you all think it is, then it doesn't really matter what's in the bottle.
If they're not going to open it.
yeah. It's still fraud. Don't get me wrong. But
no, I know, but it couldn't happen to better people sometimes.
Yeah. It's definitely. It's first world problems doesn't scratch the surface really.
Well, anyway, they found some way to figure that out.
Yeah,
without even opening it.
There's a lot of interesting, at least pseudoscience around it.
Yeah, I do have to wonder if they actually can tell, or if this is just yet another way to bilk these ultra-rich collectors.
Oh, totally could be, yeah. I think there's some serious industry fund. The thing about it is that I think the Scotch whiskey industry, and it tends to be Scotch more than other things because it just seems to go for the highest price, that has a stake in having some legitimacy. And so they'll actually hire scientists to do this kind of work.
Yes, but suppose you were the kind of people who wanted to perpetrate the fraud of selling, false bottles of old whiskey. Mm-hmm. A perfect way to get cover for that would be to invent such a device that can prove that the Scotch actually is 100 years old.
Oh, absolutely.
And then, of course, prove the Scotch that you were handing off to people.
Oh, okay.
It sounds like a really boring movie.
No, they're only... See? All these scientists actually are in cahoots. They all get...
Don't trust them.
Millions of scientists are all in on this thing, this scam, and global warming and COVID.
Vaccinations.
Wow.
See,
you scientists are really...
What I don't understand about the conspiracy nuts is why is no one saying that gravity is a big conspiracy? Or light.
Or flat Earth.
I suppose
there
actually...
There are flat earthers.
The flat Earth...
No, there are flat earthers.
And they dispute gravity.
Yeah. There are people that don't believe in gravity, I guess. I don't know what they just think it's in your shoes, or
no. As I understand it, they believe the flat Earth is accelerating at 1g up.
And so it keeps us down.
Yes, but you must then also, I guess, say that the speed of light is non-existent, because very soon we would exceed the speed of light if we kept accelerating that fast.
No,
dude. Okay, that was a very long explanation of what I'm drinking. Phil, what do you have?
I made a Timber Point cooler. I don't know. I had some Campari in the fridge and some gin, a little bit of each of those things, and so I thought, well, I'll try this. I wanted something different, and it's gin. I mean, the actual drink has Aperol, but I substituted for Campari, lime juice, and simple syrup. Now you're supposed to shake that all up for a while in the shaker and the ice, and then you top it with club soda and stir it gently, and you garnish it with a cucumber. And so I got to use some of my a cucumber slice, not a whole cucumber.
Some of your mutant cucumbers.
I got to use some of my mutant cucumbers. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I've never grown cucumbers before, and I probably should never ever again. They were very odd. But yes, so it has a cucumber slice. So it's got, some sweetness there, and the cucumber is definitely needed, I think. And I'm guessing I'm wondering if it's more on the smell affecting the taste.
Yeah, I could see that.
But if you leave it in there long enough, it's probably going to affect the taste more too. But anyway, I might eat the cucumbers later. So that's what I had.
Sounds good.
It's from some, I don't know, some beach resort out east.
I think my favorite gin drink would be a French 75, which I believe is champagne, gin, and some kind of citrus.
Yeah, I can't remember. I've looked at that. I haven't made one yet, but I was looking at that one day.
Well, check that out. And we've actually come up with an easy way to impersonate, because they make some... I don't know how close this is, but I think they make a grapefruit tonic water.
Yeah.
And so if you make like a gin and tonic with this grapefruit tonic water, it has a bit of an homage to the citrusy notes of that French 75.
Okay, all right.
It's an easy and tasty way to get going.
There you go. Smooth.
It's very smooth. Yes.
But then next I'll have a grain belt.
Well, there you go.
Because that was way too fancy.
That
was refreshing.
Very fancy
It's probably
for you. Yeah.
It was at the end of the definitely at the end of the cooler season. I mean, the season's becoming cooler, so I'll not have coolers to drink probably.
Well, and you have some
soon.
Camparis, so you can make Negronis, right?
Yes, I was going to do that, but then I thought, well, I don't know if I want a Negroni today. I might. Maybe I'll do that later. But when I make them, I don't do a third of each. It's vermouth is the third thing, right? I think that they do a third of each, and it's just too. I do like more gin and a little bit less vermouth and a little bit less Campari on mine, but whatever. It's a bastard Negroni.
Kind of Winston Churchill style.
Not quite.
I'll
just drink the gin and look at the Campari bottle.
Right.
I see. Like the old MASH joke. Weren't they always talking about their martinis on MASH, about the waving in front of a picture of the person who invented vermouth?
That's right. Oh, I've forgotten that. That's great. Well, the gin they always show them making sounds so bad with that still they have in the tent.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
Like hook up to IVs and stuff like that or something. I just can't remember.
No.
Maybe I'm mixing up the nurse or the surgery scenes with that.
It's not IVs and stuff. It looks like an actual still, but the stuff that you can imagine coming out of it just sounds awful.
Yeah.
And do they have any kind of botanicals there? Maybe they put kimchi in it or something?
Yeah, what?
Oh, I'm sure there's botanicals there.
They never really tell us.
There is a Korean gin. It calls for pine, chamomile, coriander seeds, and a lovely boost of citrus from Jeju Hallabong. The result is a surprisingly sweet but floral and gently spicy gin. that goes down far too smoothly. I've had 7.
It seems like there's a whole missing episode where they're out foraging juniper berries.
Come on, Alan Alda could totally.
Oh, we'll have him as a guest.
He's into podcasting.
Is he really?
Oh yeah,
He does the science stuff, or he had that show for a long time on PBS.
Alan Alda
What's that
does
called?
a podcast.
Scientific American.
Yeah,
Yep.
that was a good show. It was fun.
Yeah.
No,
Somebody was trying to communicate about science.
Alan Alda now has a podcast called Clear and Vivid.
Oh.
And he has various guests, and he talks about communication. Alan Alda is really still into communicating science. It basically launched off of that Scientific American's Frontiers show on PBS, and he has a whole center for communicating science that is part of some university somewhere.
Oh, well, God bless him.
Yeah.
We need
That's
him more than
great.
ever.
And as I've mentioned before, I've also been really enjoying Al Franken's podcast.
I have not checked that out yet. I should.
It's
At
very
the
good.
library?
It's obviously very political, but he even his ad reads are pretty funny. He does this recurring one that he's like supposedly reading this character called Dr. Fauci. But he does it in this kind of Brooklyn cab driver kind of voice.
Wow.
And then, he does the ad read with normal Al and like character Al voices. So he just talks back and forth with himself.
Oh, strange.
It's actually pretty funny. It's one of the few podcast ads I don't just skip.
It's time for a break. This part of the show is brought to you by the ad for the Al Franken Show.
Whoa.
Ooh.
What was that?
I dug up my old harmonica.
Well, that's very Dylan-esque of you.
Well, I thought I was going to have to re-record Cowboy Code, and it has a harmonica solo.
It does.
Yeah. I actually did a harmonica solo on that one. People probably think it was part of the sequence, maybe, but...
Okay. Well, I made
You didn't even listen to it?
I did listen to it like twice. I don't know how I missed that.
It's kind of at the bridge or something, or... yeah, it's in the bridge.
Oh,
I don't know why I thought I would try to do well. It's funny because I was thinking about bringing out the harmonica for one of our songs at some point, and then
Is that a metaphor, bringing out the harmonica?
hey, it's time to bring out the harmonica, folks. It's a euphemism.
That's what I really should, if I wasn't too much bottled in bond.
Fine.
And then I poured some more and made a Manhattan out of it. So
There you go. Say it the Manhattan Transfer.
it's Saturday. It's okay.
Yeah. Well, lately Friday has been my over imbibing day, unfortunately. 'Cause that's the only day.
I was bad
What?
last night. After I heard the bad news about Ginsburg
It was
passing,
part of it. Yeah.
I had several rounds of scotch.
Drown our sorrows.
That
Oh my
sucked.
God. No, I'm guessing there are a lot of hungover people this morning, or were. Ugh.
Yeah,
I'm not blaming RGB for my my drinking, but
Oh no.
Friday is it's kind of my only day that I let myself watch the news for some reason. I don't know why.
A half hour.
I mean,
right?
Well, it's the news hour.
Oh, it's still an hour. Okay.
I don't know. Maybe it's more like, if you count the ads, it's probably 50 minutes. But well, I get the headlines from places, but
Oh yeah.
I don't actually watch a newscast. For some reason, I watch it on Fridays. Well, yeah, the two old white guys around there still Shields and Brooks. And David Brooks, if you're listening, we'd like to have you as a guest.
So why Brooks and not Shields?
Oh, no, I was just going to say.
So
but-
Shields said he'd be on the show. You'd turn him down.
Oh, hell no.
You're a David Brooks person.
No, I'm not. It's not that I'm not curious about Mark Shields. I don't know much about David Brooks as a person. And maybe he wouldn't want to talk about it, that kind of thing. Maybe he's just, this is what I think, and I'm going home. Don't ask me these personal questions. I don't know.
Okay.
That would be a really short
You have
newscast.
a weird thing with him. I don't know.
I don't think it's not like I don't have a crush on him or something. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I don't know what it is. That's why I'm asking you.
I'm just really curious. I mean, he spent years on these quote unquote, liberal media. And
He still shows up on NPR every so often.
Hello.
Yeah, and he's the conservative commentator.
Right.
Speaking of conservative, is Andy's back?
Haha.
That was
And
was not a good segue.
I have a new beverage too.
Do tell.
Oh, well, what is
Well,
that?
I have a Barb Ruby Belgian Creek Cherry Ale. Now, wait, that Kriek is a German word. I don't know. It's some kind of beer, but it has cherry flavor.
Okay.
And I am not sure the process behind it, but I haven't even tasted it yet.
Okay, we'll taste it. We're listening. You smelled it first. Good. You just got the smell going.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That's some intense cherry flavor. It doesn't even smell or taste much like beer. It's very foamy. It took me a while. That's why it took me a while to come back. It just was foaming up and over.
Oh.
So it's tart. Just like kind of a sour cherry flavor, really.
Well, how's it compared to that cherry cider that you used to get on the way to Hill City?
5 cents a glass.
Did you ever do that?
I
We always
never
No.
got it.
I can't really. Your dad
No.
wouldn't stop. What a jerk.
No, we
we had to every time.
We only stopped at the Buffalo Burger stand in Hill City and got a sundae. And we had a particular kind of sundae we wanted. It's called a Dusty Road. So it's
I don't know
vanilla,
what this is.
vanilla soft serve ice cream, chocolate syrup, marshmallow fluff, whipped cream, malt powder.
Yeah,
That's the dusty part of the Dusty Road.
Yeah,
and
that's
the cherry.
important.
Oh,
Yeah.
yum.
Oh, the malt powder. That's what makes it.
Yeah.
Yes.
When I discovered malt powder, boy.
My wife is a big fan of that particular sundae.
Oh, I thought it was unique to.
No,
Yeah,
no,
I've
it,
never heard
of
it it turns up at other places. Sometimes custard places will do it, or
Oh.
yeah. So it
I
wasn't just
never
them.
heard of it.
If you know a place in the Twin Cities that makes it, I want to go get one.
Any listeners can comment on our Facebook page, so Andy can have a Dusty Roads.
Dusty Roads and Marshmallow Fluff are terrible porn names.
Because the marshmallow fluff is sometimes available at ice cream shops. The malt powder is really the thing that they often don't have. But if they make chocolate malts, they might have it there.
Yeah, you have to ask them to put it
Yeah.
in, though.
You do have to you have to tell them how to make it.
Yeah,
the
it's like the
soda jerk
secret
won't know.
handshake.
Yeah, a dusty
You,
road.
so yeah, so go to Dairy Queen and tell the the
No, Dairy
14-year-old.
Queen wouldn't have it.
No, sure, they got malt powder. Oh, they might not have fluff. Bring your own fluff. Oh,
Bring
they
your
won't
own
let you do that.
marshmallow.
They won't
Yeah.
let you do that. Would they? You
What-
could put it in later.
And I don't know that getting the marshmallow right is hard because some marshmallow fluff is too like gooey, and it hits the cold ice cream and it kind of congeals into like a lump, and that's not right. It needs to be really fluffy and soft so that even when
Is
it
there a
gets cold,
separation?
you
the
want to be able to
chocolate
get that
separates, right?
perfect scoop, right? The spoonful that's got the ice cream, the chocolate, the marshmallow, the malt, and the whipped cream all together.
That sounds good.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm lactose intolerant, and I'd eat that.
Whoa. Well, maybe it could be made with like an almond-based ice cream. or
No,
something.
that doesn't sound as good. I don't know. I'll take a Lactaid. Tonight's sponsor is Lactaid. No, just kidding.
So speaking of that, the Black Hills, Phil and I were
the hills, sure.
we're talking about, or maybe I just dreamt it. I don't know.
It's hard to tell nowadays what's real.
It really is that
Fake life.
maybe we would have some reunion special for all the people that worked at Horse Thief Campground.
Yeah, we
I could be the
do
moderator because I never worked there.
that. You weren't, but we could get Lee and
Eric?
John, Jeff.
And didn't Rob show up at some point too?
Did he work though?
No, he was never employed
No,
there.
fortunately.
But he and I did go sailing together once while I was working there, and he got an infamous sunburn.
Oh,
See, I think that gets him in.
he's never been the same. I think it just fried his brain. Poor guy.
The Horse Thief Campground reunion special.
Coming
record it.
soon.
We could record it at that cabin across the street.
The lodge.
The lodge, yeah, with the broken toilets. That's what I think of when I think of the lodge. It's either the broken toilets or the giant mutant trout swimming in the old pool.
Well, so the broken toilets. The idea was that it was like a bed and breakfast kind of building, and there had a lot of bathrooms for each of the different suites, and they must have at some point replaced or planned to replace some of the toilets, but they kept the old ones in like a closet somewhere.
Yeah.
Right?
You never. Why would you throw away a perfectly good broken toilet?
It was partially good. But
One-way toilet, yeah.
I think the idea is you could cannibalize. This might have a broken bowl, but the tank was fine. And then
right.
'cause-
Yeah, somebody was from the Depression era, so they saved everything.
also
Thrifty
the
South
bathhouse.
Dakotans, yeah.
The bathhouse at that property had pink toilets in the ladies' restroom and blue toilets in the men's restroom.
See, I don't remember
And-
that. That's
No,
interesting.
because I remember this because at some point we had to cannibalize, and we built this bastardized half pink, half blue toilet.
There's a lot of bastards and cannibals being referenced in this.
I'm sorry, poor
That's
word
the name of
choices.
this episode:
Yeah.
Bastards and Cannibals.
Done.
Oh, good heavens! What have I done? All right, now I think we need to get to the quiz show.
Yes,
Oh, well,
please rescue us
talk
from
a little.
this horrible
First
sidetrack.
talk a little bit about, or we have to come back to your experiences working together up there. Because I went up there to visit a couple times, and that was a cool area. We don't have to talk about that, I guess.
The campground?
The
We're
campground?
working at the campground, so we could come back to that after the quiz show. That's fine.
Okay.
Maybe. I don't know.
Sure. I'm sure there's lots of old stories we can tell. Whether it's interesting to anyone is arguable.
Well, people like stories, even if they're not interesting. That's why there's so many podcasts.
Okay.
No. Okay, fine.
So
A
here's
quiz show.
Okay.
I don't
Here's
know
the
if I'm
quiz
ready for
show.
this.
Andy's quiz show. We're gonna find out who's in the know. Andy's quiz show. Ready, get, set, go.
So we're gonna pit the two of you against each other to see who can win the quiz show. So, and the theme behind this comes from the chemical process behind all alcoholic beverages, and that is fermentation. So tonight's quiz, fermentation. This first
Okay.
question is for you, Phil. So
7.
I went to Uncle Frankie's on Broadway, and I ordered a veggie hot dog with ketchup, mustard, and pickles. What product of fermentation do all of those condiments have in common?
Okay, what were the 3 things again? Pickles.
Ketchup, pickles, and mustard.
They all have vinegar.
That's correct. Good job.
Oh.
Vinegar is
my
produced
goodness.
by fermentation.
I've
Yes.
already lost.
No, I'm just surprised I got one. I know some science things.
Okay. All right, wise guy. Can you think of another fermented food that is often put on hot dogs in addition to those condiments?
Sauerkraut.
That's right. All right, so it's tied up 1-1.
Woo!
Now let's really
this the
dig in
tiebreaker?
here. There's a couple more questions. It's gonna go.
Oh no!
I'm kidding.
So
No,
what
this
if-
is fun.
What if you wanted to add some spicy flavor to your hot dog for some reason? Can you think of a fermented food that adds spice?
Fermented food.
Who is this for?
Spice. This is me, I guess.
I guess
my
it's back to Phil.
Okay, Phil. Go.
I don't know. Is kimchi spicy? You put that on a hot dog.
Actually, kimchi is fermented, and it is sometimes spicy. It wasn't the answer I was looking for, but I'll give you credit. So it's 2-1. John, back to you. Can you think of a
That's like a half point.
A spicy topping? Sometimes it's maybe put on eggs more than hot dogs.
No, I think I know what it is now.
A spicy topping.
You know, a condiment.
Okay.
It's not
don't-
ketchup. It's not.
John, you're the condiment king, but John,
know,
I think the egg thing threw him off because John never puts a condiment on his
There's-
eggs.
Oh.
I
Okay,
don't
Phil,
think.
then it's back to you. Your chance to pull ahead, 3-1.
I mean, people put paprika on hard
I'm
boiled
sorry,
eggs,
paprika is.
but that's a spice. That's
it's
not
a
fermented.
food.
This is
I
still a
was looking
condiment,
for.
right?
I was looking for Tabasco sauce.
Oh, back to the vinegar thing. Yeah.
Oh,
No, actually,
people
Tabasco
do
is
put that
not.
on their eggs.
Is not made with vinegar. Tabasco. There's a great How It's Made episode. I'm sure you can find it on YouTube. Tabasco is fermented chilies.
Well, that's
So-
funny because it sure tastes like vinegar.
It does, but it's probably not. Possibly some acetic acid, which is the chemical in vinegar, but it may also include. Yeah, no, I guess acetic acid is. That's what I was thinking. Duh. So I had a mental breakdown there. Like I
It's
said,
'cause you had it.
I left science 20 years ago. So
And you've been drinking.
and yes, this cherry barb, it's really just disturbed me. Okay, so
Okay.
where are we? Where are we at?
Oh, no.
Two
Where
to
are
one.
we? Who-
2-1. No one got Tabasco. Oh, but you got
Okay.
kimchi, so I gave you credit. So it's 3-1. So this question, I guess, goes back to John.
Sure.
Fermentation is a process where cells are converting sugar into energy.
Oh shit.
That's why they do it. So what is the one chemical factor that determines if fermentation results in alcohol or vinegar? So think about like wine. Have you ever heard of wine going bad?
Yes.
When does that happen? Is
it amount of oxidization?
That's correct. Fermentation in
that
the
was gonna be
presence
my
of
guess.
oxygen will result
Okay.
in
Alright.
vinegar being produced instead of alcohol.
It's a fine
Okay.
line.
Okay,
Yeah.
2-3, but it's Phil's turn. Okay, now we're going to move away from food into other uses for fermentation. Which of these following products is not a product of fermentation?
Your
Okay.
mother.
Indigo dye, linen napkins, bicycle tires, or automotive fuel?
Which one of them is not?
Is not. So 3 of them are the
So
product.
3 of them are?
Yes.
I would have never known. I would have never thought any of the 4 were. Which were the 4 again? Sorry.
Indigo dye,
Napkins.
linen
Dye.
napkins, bicycle tires, or automotive fuel.
Okay, those 2 things have petroleum. So I'm going to. So there's a commonality there. So I'm going to pick linen napkins.
I'm sorry, linen napkins are created through a process of fermentation. Yeah, so linen is actually made from the stalks of a little blue flower called flax.
Yeah.
And the stalk has fibers in it that are very strong, but there's also a lot of other plant material in there. So what they do is they let that material ferment, and the fermentation breaks down that extra material, leaving just the nice strong fibers that then can be washed and cleaned and spun into thread.
What?
Okay,
Yes.
very cool.
So
Great.
the
Learning
correct
things.
answer, let me just go through it. Indigo dye is also fermented.
Yeah.
There are other commercial ways to do it, but traditionally it was done through fermentation because indigo requires what's called a reduced state to be an effective dye. And the way you get that reduced state is to cover it and let it ferment. And the fermenting organisms consume all the oxygen, and that creates a reduced environment. So the chemical reaction that makes indigo work can be present. It's actually kind of interesting. In the reduced state, it's this clear kind of yellowy green liquid, and you'll soak your fabric in it, and then when you bring it out into the air, it turns into the blue, actually crystallizing inside the fiber as little tiny blue crystals of the indigo
I can see it.
molecule, and that's what causes the blue. Like in your blue jeans, it's indigo dye.
And so you could indigo dye a linen napkin.
Certainly, yes.
Oh my goodness, that's double
So-
fermentation.
Automotive fuel, I was thinking of ethanol, which is big in the Midwest here, where you take corn and you ferment it to produce alcohol, and that is used as fuel in cars.
No.
So
yeah.
bicycle tires, I was trying to think of something tricky. They are produced through an interesting chemical reaction where latex rubber from trees is made more durable by basically putting sulfur into it, and that's called vulcanization, but that's not fermentation.
Okay.
Ah.
All right.
So
a
it's
definition.
still I'm not keeping track, so I think it's still 3-2. So John, here's your chance to tie it up.
No. Oh no. We need a lightning round.
So suppose you're looking for a drink for your nightly podcast, but you're all out.
Nightly.
Every night.
So what animal could you put in a highball glass full of water to create ethanol?
An animal?
Yes, you have a highball glass full of water, and you put this animal in there, and it will create alcohol. So it's got to fit in the glass, so that you can deduce that much. It's not an elephant.
It's a blue whale.
Not a raccoon. Yeah.
No.
You can feel. It's not a paddlefish.
No? That's a closer guess than an elephant, though.
Oops. Why am I helping?
This
Really?
is terrible.
No, this
right.
is hard.
I'm sorry,
I think
you're-
Andy's
Five
using
five
this
seconds
as a,
left.
Okay.
Tick tock.
A
Say
paddlefish.
Oh, we
no.
just ruled that out.
I know.
Paddlefish wouldn't fit in a highball glass, so I'm going to say no. No, I
know
was
what it
thinking
is.
of a goldfish.
Okay.
Yes,
A
goldfish.
goldfish makes alcohol?
Most animals are capable of some limited, what's called anaerobic respiration. So, like if
Yeah.
you work out and your muscles get sore, that's because our bodies produce lactic acid when our cells need energy and there's not enough oxygen. But goldfish are adapted to living in murky, stagnant water, which can go for long periods of time without enough oxygen. So they actually have sort of gone back to the old days strategies of yeast and have the capacity to produce energy from their food without oxygen and produce alcohol as a side effect. So yeah, you could put a
Wow.
goldfish in a glass.
You know, this reminds me because my first two pets were Starsky and Hutch. They were two goldfish. And I don't remember which one died. I think it was Hutch. But we had Starsky for a long time, and I think he was always drunk, now that I think back. So, okay, maybe I would have guessed that. I don't know.
All right, I had a tiebreaker ready, but
Okay.
really, I think Phil's won it. But this would be your chance, and the first person to I think I'll give you a point each for each correct answer you shout out. So this
Oh,
is a
no.
wild card. Anything could happen. So have your hands on the buzzer, and here we go. This is the Japanese dinner. The other day, I went out to our favorite Japanese restaurant to get takeout.
Kimchi.
As I looked on the menu, I spied 5 different Japanese foods that are the product of fermentation. Can you guess what they were?
Kimchi, right? That's one.
Well, kimchi
no?
is Korean.
That's Korean.
That's Korean, yeah.
That's Korean. Oh, no. They might have some kind of a slaw. Pickles. Oh, yeah, they have a pickle dish.
Yes, pickles are fermented. 1 point.
Oh, like the
Okay.
Phil,
radish.
so now it's 5-2. Come on.
The ginger, maybe.
Pickled ginger?
The ginger.
Yeah, that's the same thing.
I would
pickled ginger.
I would say that would be the pickled product. Yes. That
Yes.
you'd have on.
Okay, all right.
What
Well, give
about-
John a point, too.
think-
That's fine.
Okay, so then it's 4-3.
Oh, well, the sauce, the fish, or the different
Soy sauce?
sauces they have.
Soy sauce. Yes, it's tied up. 4-4.
See, I helped him, though.
Well, you're thinking out
I get
loud.
half a point. Okay, so
4.5 to 4. maybe
4.5, as a
something you
scientist
might.
would say.
What would you drink in a Japanese?
Sake.
No.
There you go.
Or
Yes,
beer.
Sake. That's right. Sake and beer are both fermented products.
And
So now
whiskey.
I think it's still
Sake.
don't
tied
know.
up now, 5-5. What about if you? What about a hot beverage or a maybe
Tea?
other hot liquid you might
Uh-huh.
have of say maybe before the meal?
What, tea?
That's right. Black tea
Well,
is
I said tea.
fermented.
Black
Yes.
tea is fermented?
John
I
has
didn't know.
John has pulled in the lead, Phil. It's now
I
6
said
to
tea
5.
before he did.
Messed up.
I said tea before he did.
No,
I'm getting too competitive.
I'm looking to
You know
Leo
what?
for an official
I
ruling.
think, is there more? The fish sauce. But, well, okay, fine.
The fish
think-
sauce, I think, is Vietnamese.
Yeah.
Or Thai.
I'm getting my Asian cuisine mixed up.
Yes.
Okay, fine.
How about
We tied.
panko breadcrumbs or rice?
No.
Are we still going?
I
Or
was
not
looking
fermented?
for
Sticky rice has vinegar in it.
miso soup. Miso is
Oh,
fermented.
miso soup. Yes, yes.
Oh, miso soup.
So, Phil, I'm sorry. John just crushed you in the
I'm
Japanese
not-
fermented foods category, and so he wins
I'm not gonna
6
count
to
this.
5. Congratulations,
I said-
John.
I
I
think
said tea
we're
first.
kind of tied.
Miso sorry. Okay, so
Okay, so there we go. Mr. Science says podcast trivia.
Andy's quiz show. We're gonna find out who's in the know. Andy's quiz show. Ready, get set, go.
I think
great.
Andy's using this episode as a way to audition to get on Alan Alda's podcast.
Do you think Alan Alda listens to this podcast?
Oh, he's I think he's our listener from the Philippines.
It's Alan Alda.
It's rerouted somehow. I don't know.
That makes sense. I mean, he wouldn't want people to know, so he'd probably use Tor
No.
or something to reroute his internet traffic.
Maybe he's recently
He's
moved
too-
to New Zealand.
He's too clever. He's too clever.
That's terrible.
Fine. Well, I'm gonna use the restroom again, so you guys talk
Oh,
about
shit.
you
All
guys
right.
talk about the campground.
Okay.
Oh,
Tonight's episode was brought to you by Linea Sketch. Linea Sketch voted #1 iPad app of the year. Now available for free on the iStore.
is it?
Available for iPhone and iPad. Oh yeah, Linea Sketch is free now.
Oh,
It has like Nagware. There's
in-app,
a few
in-app purchase.
in-app in-app subscription, but it basically works without it.
Oh, that's
There's
what
only one or
everybody
two.
does now. Yeah.
It's the truth is it's hard to make a living making apps in the App Store.
Oh, yeah.
So
yeah,
yeah.
people really don't want to pay for things. It
No.
turns out.
well, and the problem for me is Apple has positioned software as having very little value. You'll pay $1,000 for the iPhone,
Yeah.
but more than 99 cents for an app, and people are screaming bloody murder.
Yeah,
And
it's
the other
messed
thing
up, actually.
Apple doesn't let you do the traditional model of a paid upgrade on
Or
iPhone.
even trials stuff.
I mean, so there's some ability to do trials, and more actually in iOS 14. But still, you can't do the traditional model of paid upgrades. So, when we introduced this rollout, there were some people who were really annoyed. Like the one thing we do if you're not a subscriber is we watermark images when you export them.
Right.
And some people were really upset, and they're saying, just give me back version 2. I don't want this. And it's not up to us. We can't do it. Apple doesn't let you. If you had a Mac, you could install the old version if you wanted, but on an iPhone, it's very difficult. Only if you'd done the iTunes backup, you could restore an old version, but then you'd have to turn off the App Store automatically updating. So
Yeah, you have to play these dumb games.
yeah, it's really frustrating.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating.
I've kind of been following all the drama with some of the big developers and stuff like that. With
Hey,
yeah, in the Fortnite and all that shit. And
yes, Fortnite. Wow, that's crazy. They're really taking it head on, and I just don't see a way that it's going to end well for them.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, I can see why they did it, because I didn't even realize that there are certain companies that get to break the rules.
Oh, yeah, like Netflix.
It's not fair to the rest of us.
Right.
Amazon, you can in-app purchase Amazon content for video
Right.
in the app now. And it bills to your credit card that's on file with Amazon. It doesn't go through Apple's in-app purchase.
Right, they don't get their cut.
That's 100%
Which is
against the
completely
rules.
not how everybody else has to do it.
And in Apple's own discussion around the litigation with Fortnite,
Yeah.
they're saying, we've banned thousands of developers for doing stuff like this, and yet there is an app on their platform, and everyone knows they're doing it, and Apple just turns the other cheek. It's not fair.
Because of who they are, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
and the problem is it's not an open marketplace. This is monopolies.
No, and something's going to have to give on this. I don't know what it's going to be, and the antitrust thing isn't quite fitted either, probably because our antitrust law doesn't fit anymore. But,
I know.
It's
Has anybody asked Elizabeth Warren what we should do? She's always got ideas. She can figure this out, and I don't mean that facetiously.
no,
I
I
accidentally.
get it.
She would.
Yeah, it's a problem. Apple has this. They really are feeling very entitled to their good old 30% blah 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 control that they've had for years, which is actually quite arbitrary.
It sounds like the president.
But on the other
president
hand,
has a good control over 30%.
If you're a game developer like Epic and Fortnite, and you want your thing on the PlayStation 4 or the Xbox or whatever, you pay them 30% as well. But it's somehow different there. Because they've always done. Apparently Nintendo kind of pioneered the whole 30% cut thing. But it's, obviously there's going to have to be a lot of the stuff hashed out, and it's what Apple is getting is not exactly fair.
Well,
and somehow it feels different for me, the gaming consoles, because the devices themselves, are sold almost at a loss. Everyone knows that they're essentially a subsidized product because they're going to make it up in their commission on the games that are shipped on that platform.
So it would be okay if Apple did the same thing.
I could get a Mac for $30. That would be wonderful.
Yeah, but then every app that you run would cost,
$70 now. That's what the new console price is. $70.
New Mail only $70.
Right.
No.
Google Chrome, $100 a year.
It's interesting how people are
Don't give
really
them ideas.
conditioned, like to basically pay nothing for a game they'll run on their phone or their iPad or whatever, and yet $70 is legitimate for a console game.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things is the console doesn't come built in with dozens and dozens of super high quality games. Right? You have to buy the first game you play on it. You pay for it.
Yeah, that's an old...
It might come with Mario Brothers.
On an iPhone,
Yeah.
when day one, it has weather, a web browser, a mail client, stock apps. Like, it's just loaded with functionality
Yep.
for free, and then most of the apps are a dollar.
Yeah,
So
and
it's
like
just-
so, this past summer I bought a PlayStation 4, and I basically couldn't do much of anything with it. I mean, I guess I could put a Blu-ray in it and watch a movie, but there wasn't a lot to do on there without paying somebody.
Yeah. And so, I don't know if we're going to actually be glad we made the change to make Linea free, but we weren't making much money at $6. Pay for it.
Yeah, which
And so-
I mean is high for an app, but is actually still really cheap.
Yeah. So our thought was, okay, we'll make it free. We'll put this basically call it nagware.
Yep.
So the app periodically prompts you, says, hey, please support the development. And the thought was, well, even if like 1% of the people actually do that, we'll probably get more than 100 times as many users because it's free now.
Yeah, it's like this kind of related thing, but I use this Twitter app on my phone that...
Twitterific?
Yeah, exactly. And
That's actually made by the same company that we collaborated with on Linea Sketch.
that's
They're
right.
both made
And
by Icon Factory.
I actually paid them $30 for a quote lifetime version of it. And you know what? I open it every day, and I'm always glad to have it because I don't see ads, and it works well, and all that stuff. And for me, that was worth it.
What else did it
That's
do?
great to hear.
Yeah,
What else does it do besides block ads, though? It's not just an ad blocker, is it? Does it help organize
It does
things?
It'll actually display tweets in a linear fashion. Doesn't fuck with them.
Yep, it's
like
chronological.
Yep, exactly. So like the official Twitter app will not only put ads in your feed or whatever they call it, timeline, and this
But it sorts them to present the stuff that it thinks will be most engaging.
exactly, yeah, it's very Facebook-like,
Yep.
and the Twitterific app just puts them in straight order, and then I can go back and look at stuff or skip them or whatever, and I don't see any crap. And it
Does Twitter
just
get a
seems
cut?
like, I mean, it works really. It's a good app. It really is.
Does Twitter get a piece of that to let it use to work on Twitter?
I don't think so. but-
Do they have to pay something for the API for that, or is it just? Yeah, I'm not sure how that works.
If they know somebody.
Because Facebook and Twitter have different approaches. So there's no third-party Facebook apps. So at some point they had
yeah.
different ways of letting people have access to their platforms.
But there will be no additional third-party Twitter apps.
That's right.
That's-
They did
yeah.
cut that
So
off.
They grandfathered
Twitterific
them in.
basically, got brought in because they were there back when Twitter had a public API.
It's like them
when-
and Tweetbot are the two big ones, probably.
Yes.
Yep.
And they actually gave them a limited number of users. So at some point, Twitterific won't be able to support new users because
Yeah.
they'll have exhausted their allotment of connections.
Well, we should just all move to that Chinese TikTok.
Not for long.
Oh
Yeah,
no,
good
that's
luck
not
with
gonna
that.
work. Oh,
now
that's
now
not- that's
from
not gonna work.
Oracle, right?
Oh, fucking Oracle.
Maybe.
Ugh.
Maybe. That doesn't seem like a
And that's only
completely
because Larry
understandable
Ellison
marriage.
is a Trump fan.
oh,
Well, wow.
Yeah.
But I also see Tim Cook kind of, kowtowing to him a little too.
Yeah, I've been really disappointed with Cook's kind of bending to
well,
not.
Apple in China is a little different.
Well, that's another thing altogether. But I just feel like, yeah, Tim Cook at Apple has been just a little bit
Well, what's-
too accommodating to Trump.
What's their goal now? Is just to make what's Apple's goal right now? I mean, is it just kind of a domination thing?
Besides making shit tons of money.
Well, yeah. Is that it? Because I don't think that was the initial.
No, they're a publicly traded company.
Yeah.
Their goal
That's
is
what
to make
everybody
money.
forgets is that if Tim Cook
Yeah.
doesn't do this kind of stuff, he'll get fired. The
Yeah.
shareholders will rise up and get rid of him.
Oh,
I'm also not surprised to see him working with the current administration because he's got a business to run and he needs cooperation from the
no,
government.
I get
Yeah,
that.
no,
And
no,
you
he
got to
does,
work
and
with
most,
China
most
and whatever.
CEOs do in public companies.
Yeah.
And China makes most of the things, so don't they?
Oh yeah. Just about everything is manufactured in China
Exactly.
from Apple. I
Well,
the-
Biden's going to change that. Apple's going to be
Really?
all the iPads will be produced in Michigan.
at old Ford factories.
Yeah, they'll convert them over. Well, in Pennsylvania will make some of the I don't know, the notebooks or something.
Wisconsin can make a few too.
Sure. Hey, wait a minute. Minnesota, we're known for our apples. There's got to be some kind.
Actually,
Can't-
there's really good Macintosh apples in New York.
No.
No kidding.
Yeah, upstate New York.
Oh, they have Broadway. Oh, never mind. They don't. So I want to know more about the campground. I like the old
please.
stories. Although we are,
Okay.
although maybe we don't. One story I remember hearing, and I don't know if this is true, but so there was a pool at the lodge across the street from the campground that had a trout. And
This
So,
might require
okay.
a little bit of introduction.
Well,
and I,
so one of
but
the
but I
features,
do but what?
one of the features of the campground was a trout fishing pond. So we
Ah.
actually purchased trout from Trout Haven. They actually have a hatchery program, and you can buy fish from them. And so we stocked this little pond that was fed from the creek through a little pipe, full of trout.
Yeah.
Way more trout than would naturally ever live in a pond that size.
Oh, it's
And
easier to
so-
catch them.
Yeah, we fed them fish feed every night. So you'd go and you'd throw food out, and the whole surface of the pond would erupt with all these fish
Wow.
eating the food. And sometimes we'd fish there just for fun and just throw them back. But one time we thought, there's this old derelict pool that's no longer in use. It was behind a fence, but it was just groundwater filled. There wasn't running. There was no chlorine. And on a lark, my dad threw that little fish in the old pool.
Yep.
And we thought, I don't know, just let's see what happens.
Oh, it's an experiment.
Yeah. And it turns out, must be a lot of grasshoppers jumped in that pool by accident. Because by the end of the summer, that fish was huge.
Oh,
So we actually
wow.
went fishing in the swimming pool and caught the trout. And it was big. I think we probably had it for dinner.
Oh, okay. Let's back up just a second.
But I remember another story.
Yeah, go ahead, Phil. You tell me
Well,
what you're thinking of.
Well, I was led to believe that your dad, Perry R., would wake up. I don't know. He probably woke up at 3 a.m. or some crazy thing, and would get out there and swim with that trout buck naked. That's what I heard. Every morning, it kept him
There it
alive.
is.
It was invigorating.
Well,
I don't know if it's true or
I
not.
can neither confirm nor deny my father's habit of what he called skinny dipping. I think it's
Wow,
probably
I-
gone out of fashion today.
But why? Skinny dipping was fun.
Yeah, it was just
I only did it-
it was just a pragmatic thing, if he did or did not engage in it, of getting cooled off in a creek or a little pond or something.
Oh, yeah. So maybe it wasn't just in the morning. It was after a hard day's of work. Theoretically, if he did or didn't do it, a hard day's of work, and you'd get in that pool and cool off. And that was an added benefit for the ladies at the campground. They'd have their
Yeah.
binoculars when
I
they
have
were
to
qu-
say,
bird
probably he
watching.
didn't skinny dip in that pool. It was right along the highway and very visible. In my experience,
True.
one would skinny dip in places that aren't highly visible.
Yeah. Well, you wouldn't want to skinny dip
But
in
how,
that
how
other.
did
in that-
this idea?
How did that story come from? Did Eric make it up? Eric had a. No, I'm just kidding.
Somehow this idea got circulated that Perry,
as I recall,
Perry
there-
was swimming naked with the giant fish.
Now, I think I also remember a variant where the fish was radioactive. And or a mutant. And or sentient.
Well, because it was the size of a alligator or something.
Yeah, it was more like probably 14 inches, which is good for a rainbow trout, but not unusual.
Well, there's certain fish that if you, I think in the Amazon or something, if you're pee in the water or whatever, they'll bite your penis. But a trout doesn't do that.
I don't think that's their sole source of nourishment, though.
Penis
What are
munching.
they attracted to the nitrogen? I don't know what. I don't know. I need to look that up.
It's
'cause I can't-
fermented, Phil.
If your pee is coming out fermented, you have a problem. That would be like a yeast infection. You should get it checked out.
No, we drink so much whiskey. That's probably okay. Fine. Eric,
Wow.
working with Eric, that must have been interesting.
Probably one of my favorite memories of working with Eric was on the old ditch digging detail.
The culvert.
Oh no, the ditch digging.
And it was the
You were
summer
like
before
prisoners.
I was going to be a drum major for the first time, and so we actually turned ditch digging into drum major lessons because Eric had been a drum major as well a couple years previous.
Yes.
And so we worked out a salute and practiced like what you do with a baton for the various signals for controlling the parade march.
What
So
you
that
do
was
with
actually
a
really, really
baton.
useful. Yeah, you hold it up in the air when you blow the whistle to start.
We've had two
forward.
former drum majors on this podcast.
Wow. At least, as far as we know.
Yes, I have another side gig job I work on that has 3 out of the 4 of us are former drum majors.
Well, what was it? How? So what was the connection to ditch digging? The rhythm? I mean,
No, the connection was ditch digging is something you did off in the woods, just the two of us, so we could not dig the ditch and goof off, and really there was no evidence.
Oh, okay.
We
It
just
wasn't
said-
like a part
We
of the
just
rhythm.
say we hit bedrock, and we did that so many times. My dad caught on, and he actually then went one afternoon and finished the entire ditch, and was like, "You guys were just goofing off up there," but he didn't actually really dig it. He just like swept the pine needles aside. It turns out there was bedrock under the entire route we were trying to bury this water line. So it was basically an impossible task to dig a 3-foot ditch or whatever he wanted because there was just solid rock.
Builds
Even
character.
with the backhoe.
No, he didn't use the backhoe. He just took a shovel.
Yeah. Oh, so
Yeah.
you were kind of right.
Yeah, so in my mind, this was a pointless activity. We cannot dig a ditch here. We might as well learn how to be drum majors.
And the other related job was painting picnic tables.
Yeah, that actually served a function because it
Yeah.
was nice to have a nicely painted picnic table.
With that
But
barn red paint.
That barn red paint.
Yes.
I did get in trouble once on July 3rd. There was a campsite, and there was a really cute girl who was camping with her family. So my friend Jamie and I, we concocted to go paint the picnic table at the campsite across from them.
Uh-huh.
But we inadvertently grabbed the latex paint would have been one thing, but in a couple hours that would be dry. We had grabbed the oil paint that takes like 24 hours to dry, and it
No.
was the 4th of July weekend. Every site
Oh,
was
no.
booked, so the campers who came to the site with the wet painted picnic table complained, and I got in big in trouble with my parents owned the campground.
Yeah.
So we then had to go and staple like plastic wrap all over that table so that the sticky paint was covered.
Oh.
And so that was a life lesson about choices you make and whether one should or should not paint a picnic table with oil-based paint on July 3rd just because there's a cute girl. And I think
And
the answer to that
also-
is you shouldn't.
No. And also, these cute girls. You'll find another one later.
Yeah.
Maybe.
It turns
Or-
turns out I did. So
Yeah.
moral of the story. I love this fable. We should get this written up by Anderson or whoever it is takes care
Anderson Cooper?
No, Anderson's Fairy Tales.
Oh, yeah. Hans Christian Andersen.
Yeah, that guy. If he's still around.
That guy.
Weren't there brothers? No, I'm confusing two different things. Oh, whatever. Fine.
That's a grim analogy.
Yeah. Okay, I get it now. Oh, fine. Well, maybe that's it. I don't know. Do we have any other stories about I never swam naked with a trout, and maybe your dad never did either.
Oh, well, there is only one other fun story to bring on our mutual friend, Lee H.
Who was a guest once? Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there was a culvert that during a storm got filled with gravel.
He was a very hard worker, I'm guessing.
And yeah, actually he was. But so my dad wanted the gravel removed from the culvert. And so he'd hook it up with a logging chain to his pickup and drag it from one end of the campground to the other up a hill. So like one end of the culvert was now kind of pointing downhill. And then Lee would be tasked with taking a hoe and pulling out as much gravel as he could reach up that end of the culvert. And then the next day he'd hook up the logging chain and drag it again up a different hill. So now the other end was pointed downhill, and then Lee would go once again with a hoe and try to pull out as much gravel as he could. But the gravel in the middle was packed in tight, so only a little bit would get loose each time it got dragged across the bumpy road. So they did this over and over, dragging the culvert up one hill and back and up the other hill and back. And so that was Lee's job for weeks, to just take the hoe and dig the gravel out of the culvert.
How strange.
Yeah. As I recall, they did finally get all the gravel out, and we put the culvert back in the road.
That explains a lot, actually.
Well, and then there was this other thing called Ron Engineering that was a fable.
Hey, wait. I thought we were going by last initials only.
Oh! I'll cut that.
R Engineering.
Yeah. There was this thing called R Engineering. Yes.
Well, and the tram.
Oh,
my
no.
goodness. The tram would go all the way across that
Yes, we did.
valley or something? What would you call that? Ravine or wetland area?
No, there was a stream with a valley,
Yeah.
I guess. And we put a cable between two trees up on the hillside on either side.
This was before zip lines.
It was a kind of zip line, but it was a lot more dangerous.
It had that wheel thing.
The
There was
rusty
no
wheel.
harness. And yes, so you have to go back to when Deerfield Park was created. There was this resort they wanted to build, and it was going to have a ski lift. But it went bankrupt, and so the ski lift never even got finished. And there were miscellaneous ski lift parts kind of just laying around on the ground up there for years.
Right. That's what that was.
And so somehow one of those parts came into our possession.
That weird wheel thing.
And it was a giant wheel like you would see on a ski lift on about a 2 foot
now
piece
I get
of
it.
iron that had some kind of connections on it. And to make it safe, because it only had the iron on the axle coming down on one side. So the other side was open. So as this wheel would ride on the cable, if it were to fall off, one way it would get caught on the axle, but the other side you would just free fall. So to make it safe...
And the wheel might fall on your head.
So to make it safe, my dad wrapped some barbed wire around the other side of the axle and rigged it up against that piece of iron coming down so that if you fell off on that side, it would be caught by the barbed wire. But one time it did fail with a friend of mine from my soccer team, and it landed on his head, but he was okay, fortunately.
Shit.
But
I didn't know that ever actually happened.
That was the origin
It's real.
of the rusty wheel that falls on your head. But to be fair, if you managed to ride across holding on to that, it was the smoothest riding zip line you've ever experienced, because it had this colossal ski lift wheel with all that angular momentum.
Yeah.
It would almost pull you up the hill on the other side. It was so smooth. It was a great ride, except for the times it fell and hit your head.
Other than that, no,
It's a
that was a
bargain.
lot of fun.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
In later years, we did concoct a safer zip line built with enclosed pulleys, so it couldn't fall off.
I think that's the one we all remember. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so that had a much higher kind of screechy sound because the little pulleys would hit on the cable.
Right.
Dad did have to take that down eventually because all the trees it was connected to got the bark beetle disease and died.
No.
Yeah.
Shoot.
Yep.
Sad.
I bet you right here and now. Oh, no, maybe not. I bet he has. Maybe Alan Alda has done the naked tram. Do you think? not at Slate Creek, as far as I know. But maybe Mr. Loomer
People
did.
may or may not have gone naked across on that tram.
No. I don't know. I guess we had to take it up a notch at some point.
Phil, there is a song though
Oh no!
called "The
That's not
Naked
the song, is it?
Tram."
Yes.
I guess we could use that song.
Yeah.
I did dig out my old 4-track.
Yep.
Oh no!
Yeah, it's been a long time since I heard that song. That was a pretty good song.
Was it?
Well,
Naked tram, take me.
make us think about who we am.
The things we
Is that who
am.
we am?
Yeah.
The things we am. Yes. Naked tram. I mean, it writes itself practically.
Yeah, I kind of did, and maybe it shouldn't have.
That'd be a bonus track.
I want to see like an instrumental unplugged version of that.
Wow. Well, I've been thinking about doing remixes of some of the old classics
Yeah, if you want some
classic?
ad lib
or remasters.
or English horn, let me know.
Oh, that would be nice. Do you have GarageBand?
I have a garage.
We should collaborate
have
on a
Garage
song
Band.
for sure. Get some oboe.
Okay.
Well, maybe we can add oboe to Naked Tram. We'll figure this out. You have a Mac. You have GarageBand.
I have
Fine.
a Mac.
Okay.
Well,
That was
thanks
a
for
lot of
having
fun.
me. I hope
was
that
a lot of
the
fun.
Mr. Science quiz show segment was entertaining enough that you'll think about having me again, and I'll bring another quiz for you.
Oh, well, I
don't
never thought
worry.
about the whole quiz show angle. I don't know. I think Rob's been on more than once. Some people do.
Well,
Yeah.
Rob's
That-
related.
That was fun. You're kind of related. You're like a cousin. You're like a brother cousin.
Well, it's practically like being related. I mean, I think I was like 2 years old when I met you, John. Riding in a wagon, being dragged by my brother. So,
I'm glad that Jeff R. Dragged you in a wagon and not just dragged you.
Yeah. No,
Jeff
no,
didn't
Jeff
seem the
R
type to
is on my
distract
radar,
his-
so we'll get him on.
And no, R does not stand for radar. Jeff did work for
Mr. Loomer. No.
for Ranger Band, have you guys reminisced about
We
Ranger Band?
have,
Anyone yet?
yes.
Fine.
We've talked
Yeah.
about
Ranger
Ranger
Rick.
Band. Yeah.
Save some for the next time you're out, I guess.
Okay.
I'm losing my voice.
Stay tuned next time when Andy R talks about the time Ranger Band stopped for a red light.
Oh, what does R stand for? Ranger?
Ranger.
Andy Ranger.
Andy Ranger.
Andy Ranger Radar. Arrgh.
No,
It's
I'm
National Pirate
I'm
Day,
99% sure Eric S. talked about Ranger Band.
It would seem likely. The whole reason that I stopped the band for the red light was because I was trying to live up to the stories of misdeeds that came down in sort of infamous form from your generation.
Generation.
Which may have not been true. I mean, we learned that maybe Perry R. did not swim naked with the trout.
Swims with the fishes. Sorry.
I don't have any evidence that that's true.
Well, I mean, that might be traumatic.
It's more of
for
a
kid.
legend, really. Yeah.
It's like Paul Bunyan. Thank you, Andy.
Thanks, Andy.
Great. It was fun to be here.
All right.
It was fun to be with you here. Good night.
Time for a Time to Lean flashback.
Once I rode the naked tram, hit a tree with a slam. My pee came out the other side. Now I have a tale to tell you. Naked tram, you make us think about the things we have. I think about you every now and then, but then I forget why. Why? Once I met a man named Bill, who drank and drank till he had his fill. He met a girl named Nil. They made love and I'm making it still, somewhere on a hill. Naked tramp, you make us think about the things we have. I think about you every now and then I forget why. They met a man named Yule. If you don't like him, you will. Making moonshine him still, somewhere on a hill. Making love to Nil and Bill. Naked tramp, you make us think about the things we have. I think about you every now and then I forget why. She died last night on the hill where they made love and are making it still. So now there's only Bill and you and the still and some retired